we will be posting it on Facebook as well as on YouTube. You will also get an email of the recording. And just a quick note, that email of the recording typically is not as high of quality as the actual upload to YouTube and to Facebook. So if you're having trouble with that uploaded recording, please make sure to check out those other channels. And as we begin, I want to encourage you all to participate in the polls as well as the chats. If you have any questions as we go along, to really make sure that you can get the most out of this session. So to begin, I just want to take another quick poll so I know who I'm talking to. How many open houses do you host a month? We've got about half the people who have answered that. I'm going to share these results once we've got everybody done or everybody answered. So we've got about 10 of you left to answer that poll, and it looks like the majority of you are doing 1 to 2 open houses a month. A few of you are doing 5 or more, and that's awesome. What a great way to do business, and to have an office wherever you are in this day and age is really important. The next thing I want to just ask quickly as we get started is, how do you market your open house? So what are some things you do to make sure that people come to your open house and actually walk through that door? So we'll leave that up, and as you answer, I'll look at those. But really, when we're talking about maximizing your open house, there's a few things that we need to talk about. And the first thing that we need to talk about is, how are you choosing your house? And the first thing you need to think about is it easy to find? And that goes into also where you're placing your sign. So a lot of people will do social media promotion. A lot of people will do newspaper advertisement. A lot of people do make sure that it's on Zillow and all of those. Some people put them on Craigslist. Some people also will do live promotion. So they go live on their Facebook. People are doing mailers. There's a lot of things that you can do to promote your open house. But if your open house is hard to find, you could do all the marketing in the world, and it's not going to necessarily help you. When you're placing your sign, you want to think of every way to get to that house and how people are going to drive and where they're going to see it. So I'm a believer of the more signs, the better, and making sure that every route to the house is marked so that people know you're having an open house. If it is hard to find, you need to have a sign about every block. If your house is easier to find, it means that you get to use less signs to get there, because people will naturally find the direction. The next thing I want to just mention on maximizing your open house is, are you hosting an open house that's in a high demand price point? And what I mean by that is this: everybody wants the $1 million buyer. And there are a few of you on this call who I'm sure work with high-end buyers often. But the reality of doing an open house is, your goal from that open house is to find buyers and to find listings. You're going to get a lot of nosy neighbors. It's to get your name out there. It's really about promoting yourself and the services you provide as a real estate agent, rather than just the house that you're sitting. Do houses sell at open houses? Absolutely, especially if you're hosting a new construction open house. But for the most part, you're really working to find those buyers and sellers who want more information on the market and want to know what you're doing for them. And if you're not in a high demand price point, you're excluding people. So that's something to keep in mind. The third thing I want you to keep in mind when you're doing your open house is it in a desirable neighborhood? Is it in a neighborhood that is selling at least 5 to 10 homes a year, where there are active listings that you can show, where there is population moving into? If it is not a desirable neighborhood. So it not only has to be desirable for the consumer, but it needs to be desirable for you to sell in. I actually personally live in a neighborhood where there's 1 or 2 houses that sell a year. This is not necessarily the best place for an open house because there's not a lot to show in this neighborhood. Not a lot goes up for sale in this neighborhood. There aren't other things to go and show them and make appointments for. So think about that desirable in twofold. Is it a desirable place for you to sell because there's things to sell in that neighborhood? And is it a desirable place for those people to live? When you're scheduling your open house, you want to know if there are any community events the same day. And this is not necessarily a bad thing or a good thing. You just need to be aware of what is going on in your area on the day you're hosting your open house. So is there a crosstown basketball game? Is there a community art fair? Is there a basketball tournament? Is it, what is happening in your community on the day you're doing your open house? This can be a huge asset because if you're choosing your open house in an area that is close to the event, you will likely get better traffic. If you are choosing your open house far away from that event, it might detract from your open house. A lot of times as well, you can do some cross promotion with those community events and try and really bandwagon the marketing you're doing for, hey, it is art fair weekend. We're showing this really cool house right off where the main event is happening. Come say hello. We've got snacks and sit down and relax in air conditioning. There's just some things that you can do to cross promote your open house with that. And David, that's a really good point. I was actually going to go into that when we talked about marketing, but yard sales are a great time to do open houses. So if there's a community yard sale or a community garage sale, having an open house on the days that they're promoting those events, or better yet, organizing the yard sale or the community garage sale event and having houses open during that time is a great thing to do. I 100% agree with you, David. And then, are you scheduling your open house with time to market? I think that a lot of us are really good at managing our own time, but we don't think about actually the time it takes not just to advertise. I'm not just talking about advertising your open house. I'm talking about marketing it. I'm talking about knocking on doors and inviting your neighbors, planning out some food to have for people there, making sure that you know the market statistics, previewing the home, researching your community events, going out and running some advertising, doing some Facebook things. It takes time to do all that. And if you're scheduling your open houses one day in advance, you don't have enough time for people to consume the marketing that you're doing. And so really making sure you're scheduling things between 8 and 10 business days in advance is really best practice. Now, a lot of us are in markets where things are moving very quickly. And so knowing that and knowing that you have to make sure that, especially if it's at a desirable price point, you are aware of what could be happening. Working with the people in your office to say, hey, I'd like to sit in open house on this day, and this day. If you have any listings that are hitting the market, that we can get those scheduled so I can start to build my marketing material, preview the home, and schedule it to launch, it will only benefit you. So jumping into your IQ tools, and I'm going to share my screen with you as well, but I just want to walk through the tools here and show you kind of what you're looking at, and then we'll actually physically walk through and show you where these screenshots came from. So you can actually schedule both your open houses, or if you're a listing agent who has an open house opportunity, you can schedule both of those through IQ Office. When you do that, this section at the bottom that says open house with the dates and times on it is actually what's going to show on the listing website, your company website, and it's really easy to share then to social media. So you can schedule several open houses out. There's an ability to filter out when the consumer is searching on your website to only search for homes with open houses. So it really does benefit you to actually go into your IQ Office and schedule your open house. If you're someone looking for an open house or looking to have someone hold one of your listings open, you can go in and schedule that opportunity within IQ, and then you can have people within your office actually volunteer and claim that open house and say, I'll hold it open. We're going to walk through all of that, so do not fret. The next thing I want to talk about is you also have access to a sign-in page. So that sign-in page is a huge asset for the person that's holding the open house, because it gives you the ability to have people sign into your open house and not have a piece of paper on the counter. So you would bring your tablet or your laptop, and you're going to get a welcome screen that looks like this. It's going to show a picture of the house. It's going to show the details of the house. It's going to give you the ability to actually put in your name, the client, their name, their email address, and all that information. They can ask to be texted or emailed the flyer directly from here. And that lead goes to the person who's hosting the open house. So on this screen, you can see that Mitchell Bowman is hosting this open house. So he's the one that is getting the leads from this page. If it was Victoria Blair holding one of these opens, she would get the leads from this page. So the system is smart enough to know who is holding the open house open. The next thing I want to talk about are the flyers that are available to you. So some of you have company flyers that are programmed in, but Realistic does have flyers available for you for open houses. And this is a look at what they are. So you can actually go in, you would choose content type, Realistic templates. Property flyers are open house. You can also do an email blast, and I like to email blast to all my prospective clients that I'm holding an open house. I think that it gives them the idea that there's something going on. I also really like it because it keeps me top of mind for them as far as real estate goes. So whether they come or not, as far as saying, hey, I'm hosting this open house, it's a great new listing, they know that I'm still in the business, and that's important. I also like to send it to people who are my past clients who are over a year old. So if they sold their home over a year ago, I invite them to an open house. For people who just recently sold, I don't send them this. I think that it's overkill, and they think that I haven't filtered my mailing list. There are also buying prospecting letters available for you. So you can actually go in and you can get some mailings ready to go for afterwards. So you can actually send out an introduction letter. I like to send this to the 100 closest homes to the listing where I'm sitting. I just work with a title company to get that. And then afterwards I send, hey, it was great to meet you, or I wish I could have met you at the open house. And I keep track of who has attended that open house, again, through that open house sign-in sheet. And then the last thing that you can do is you can order open house postcards. Again, I know some of you, William said he's scheduling his open houses 6 to 7 days in advance. So this is a slide that shows the open house postcards. Open house postcards take between 10 and 14 business days to go out. So keep that in mind if you're doing an open house postcard through our system, that they do take some time to process and go out. However, I'm also going to show you in the system a home value postcard that I really like as a follow-up to my open house. So I order it prior to my open house happening so that it's arriving the week after my open house to all of those neighbors. And I find that that's a really good way to, my name's been out, the signs have been out, I've knocked on doors, and then I'm following up with a postcard. I also like to follow up with a letter after that that says, if I've worked this hard for your neighbor, can you imagine how hard I'd work for you? And so the last thing that I'm going to do is we're actually going to walk through all of this. So we've talked about a lot today. We've talked about actually going in and scheduling. We've talked about getting to that sign-in page. We've looked at the sign-in page. We've talked about different flyers as well as e-blasts. We've talked about letters. And then the last thing we talked about was postcards. So now I'm going to start my screen share with you, and I want you to be able to actually see all of this that's happening. So once you're logged into your IQ office, you're going to see a screen that looks like this. And to schedule those open houses, you're going to go to this listings box on the left-hand side. When you click there, you actually get a screen and you're going to go to these open house section. Whether you go to open house or opportunities, it's going to open up your open house dashboard. So here's that open house dashboard, and I can see right now that there are no open houses found. So to create an open house, you click on the plus open house in the upper right-hand corner, and you go in and you choose the listing. You choose who's holding it. So there's a drop-down menu here where you can choose from the agents in your office. You choose the date that it's happening and the start and end time. We didn't talk about best times for open houses, and the reason for that is this. I think really that's something that is market dependent to an extent. And it's also seasonally dependent depending on where you are. I live in the northwest part of the United States, and if you host an open house in the wintertime from like 8 to 11 in the morning, no one's going to come because it's still dark here. And the roads haven't been plowed, and you know, there's just a lot of factors that go into that, where if I lived in maybe Long Beach, California, from 8 to 11 might be a great time because it's morning and people are out and about and getting things done. So think about your market when you're scheduling your times. I also think you need to look at the community events. So if there's a community event that's going from 8 to 3, I would host my open house from 8 to 3. If there is a basketball tournament that's happening and it is over at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I would host my open house from 1 to 5, because a basketball event is not something that people pop in and pop out of, where an community art event is. Does that make sense to everybody? I'm assuming that you're all nodding and saying yes out loud because I can't hear you. So if you could comment in that chat box, yes, perfect. Thanks, Margaret. So again, we're back at scheduling those open house. So I've selected the agent, I've selected the date, I've selected the time. You can add multiple dates in here. So you can say, hey, I know that there's going to be one on this Saturday, and I'm going to do that one from noon to 1. And you can add as many of these as you would like. Once you're done, you're going to click finish, and they're going to populate here. So I can see here, it's Vicki Lloyd's listing. One's being hosted by Lee, one's being hosted by Victoria. And right from this Actions tab, you can actually print the flyer. You can email the agent who's hosting, or you can go to the sign-in page. So that's how you access that sign-in page. When I click sign-in page, it's actually going to bring up a picture of the house with all of the information here. I'm going to put in my full name and my email address. And my phone number. And I'm going to say, hey, I'm looking to move within 3 to 6 months. Now, this comments box, so they can actually make comments if they'd like. And what I think is the best thing to do with that comment box is this. Are you working with an agent, David? Okay, perfect. That's awesome. I would love for you to see the home. I do need you to sign in, though. That's for the owner, so they know how many people came in. But in that comment box, if you could just type your agent's name so that I know who to follow up with, that would be really great, and it would help me stay on track. Then you're not bothering people who have typed an agent, and you're asking people to identify their agent, because all of us are savvy consumers. And some people will say they're working with an agent, even if they're not, because they don't want to deal with a salesy person. So when you ask them to put that in their comments box, you actually know who to follow up with as an agent. Once they click sign in, they're going to see this page here, and it says, thank you. I want this property texted, emailed, or I'm done. This screen will automatically time out within 30 seconds, or when they click finish, it goes right back to that main welcome sign in page. It's secure. People like it because they can actually sign in without putting all their information out to everybody that's coming through, and you get their information. So again, I got there by going to my listings, open houses. I went to the scheduled open house and clicked on actions, and then I went to the sign in page. You can schedule open houses by clicking the plus open house button up here. If you are a listing agent and you need to keep your ducks in a row as far as what open houses you have and you're asking people to hold or to advertise it to people within your company, you would just click plus opportunity. Again, you would choose the listing. Create as open house opportunity. You're going to choose the date. You're going to choose the times. You can add dates to this, and then you can click finish. Then they're all going to be listed here underneath this opportunities tab. And you can go in and anyone can claim it to hold open. So that's how you actually go in and create an open house or an open house opportunity. The number one question I get in this section is, if I put my open house in MLS, does it feed through to IQ? And the answer to that is it depends on your MLS. If your MLS is able to provide that information in a feed, then it can be built in to do this. However, not all MLSs feed out that open house information. And so that is a question that is better suited for your office manager because every MLS is different. Does that make sense to everybody? Awesome. All righty. Cool. Thanks, guys. So the next section I want to go through with you is actually that marketing section on what's available for you for flyers, e-blasts, and letters. We're going to start in the postcard section because if you're going to do postcards, you need, as an open house announcement, you need to order them 2 weeks prior to your open house. However, if you're going to do an order as a follow-up item for your open house, something like a home value postcard, you can easily do that. To do that, you go into your marketing and you go to My Orders. When you open that up, you're going to click the plus order button in the upper right-hand corner, and then you can filter by category. So there are open house postcards here. There are home value postcards. There are you looking for an agent postcards? And to order your postcards, you simply walk through the wizard. So I'm going to click select. It's going to automatically update information. So bear with me. And anything I hover over, I can edit. So it inserts my photo, but if I don't like that photo, this is not me, by the way, this is Victoria Blair. But if I don't like that photo, I can simply click. I can go to my agent photos. I can go to images I've uploaded. I can upload my own image. I've got a screen that is just killing me here. Once you actually go in and you put in all of the information about that order, so we're going to choose a home value. We're going to select this one. Contact me for a free home evaluation. You can edit information here. I can change this wording that I'd like. Hey, it was great to, hope you had a chance to stop by the open house I hosted on this date. Great home, hasn't sold yet, or whatever you'd like it to be. When you click next, you're going to get the page that asks you about all of the ordering information. I'm in a demo account, so hang tight, and I'm going to go to a different account and actually show you what that screen looks like. So I do think it's important because you can actually target an address. So I go in, I choose this home value. Does anybody have any questions so far as we're going through and waiting for this to load? Here's all that information. Awesome. And then that next screen is, who do I want to send it to? Do I want to send it to contact types? Do I want to have them sent to the office so that I can hand address them? Or do I want to target? So I would put in that address of the open house. And I could add notes if I'd like to. I want to order. I want to say these go to the closest 150 homes. So notice there's a minimum quantity here of 100. They're at 65 cents a piece. We're buying the addresses for that. They're going to residential homes. This is the summary. So I can see here, there's 150 that are targeted at 65 cents each, and that total is $97.50. I click the payment button. It's going to prompt me to put in all my credit card information, or I can click pay later. Once I do that, I can see that I have an order pending here. And once I refresh my screen, it will show on my orders here. So that is how you go in and you order your postcards. The next thing I want to go through is how do you go in and create an eBlast flyer? So underneath marketing, you're going to go to my saved content. And when you do that, it's going to open up your main marketing dashboard. From here, you add content. And again, once this pops up, we're going to filter it by information so that we can say, actually, we want the content type. It's going to be an email blast, realistic templates, and I want it to be you can do a property flyer open house. Here it is. Here's all the flyers. Or you can do a letter. All right. I want to do a seller prospecting letter. And all of that information is here. So there's a lot of information for you to use. You can say, hey, I want a new postcard. Just listed home value. As I scroll down, here's my open house postcard, select it. And this wizard works very similarly to the postcard ordering. It just doesn't ask you to pay. So flyers are free. You can go in, you can select the property, you name the postcard, you can save it, and then you can e-blast it out. So we're about 28 minutes in. We've talked about how to go in and actually schedule your open houses here. We've talked about going in and doing your marketing and either ordering or creating content. The last thing I want to do is just creating a property flyer for the listing when you're doing your open house. And something that I think is a really good thing to do is to pull an active list of all the properties within 1 mile or the neighborhood, depending on where your open house is, that are for sale. And I just print that out of MLS. And then when I go through it, I say, okay, well, I like these 3 homes. They're the most similar to the homes that I'm sitting in. And I actually create flyers for those. So to create a flyer, you actually can go in to add content. And we're going to choose a listing flyer. So category, property flyer. And I am going to do just an on the market flyer because you can do flyers for your open house to hand out, but I think it makes sense at your open house also to have listings, flyers for listings that are currently on the market. You choose your color scheme. And then in the right-hand corner, there's this button that says select property. And when you click on it, it actually can pull all the listings. So right now it's pulling just listings that are by this company. But if you say all active listings, you can actually then type in the MLS ID. And you just check the box or click on the property you would like to add. Once you check that box, it's going to automatically pull the photos and the information from MLS. On the market now, here's the information, here's the price, here's all this. This is from, so this, it's actually going to pull that this is from the MLS from this company, or whatever that disclaimer language is that your MLS requires will be at the bottom of the flyer if it's not yours. And then you can save and email it, save and print it, or just save it. When you're saving it, I like to save these and say open house flyer, and then I put the date in, April 15th. Because then on the Friday before I'm hosting or the day before I'm hosting, I can actually go in and say the name contains the date. And it will pull up, I have this, all of the content that has that date in it. So it makes it really easy on maybe a Monday or a Tuesday or a Wednesday or on a day you're not as busy to go in and create all the content and then just pull it up the day before, print your list from MLS that day before, make sure that all the information is the same and that it indeed is still active, and then you can print your flyers from here. Probably the next most asked question I get from here is when I go to print this flyer, nothing happens. And if you have your pop-up blocker on, it will not pop up in the next window with the property flyer. If you are using Google Chrome and you have your pop-up blocker on, you will see a little box right here that looks like a mini window that shows that that pop-up has been blocked. So if you have your pop-up blocker on, then it can't print. So there's my flyer. And then I can just choose to print from here. So any questions, comments, anything that I can go back through when we're talking about really maximizing that open house? You've got great tools for flyers, for e-blasts, for scheduling it in your IQ office. When you schedule it in your IQ office, it shows on the website. If you are a company that's feeding to other websites through your IQ office, then it's going to show on those other sites. We do feed out your open houses. You're going to go in, you're going to choose a highly demanded price point. You're going to choose a great neighborhood, and you're going to choose someplace where you want to sell and where people want to buy. Because the point of an open house is not only to find a buyer for that potential open house, but it's to find potential clients. And I want to make sure that I am available for you to answer any questions that you have so that you feel confident going in and scheduling your open house, ordering your postcards, getting your marketing material ready, sharing it onto social media, and going through this process. Should we look at how you actually can share a listing to your social media? Do you all want to see that? Sure. So to do that, you're actually going to go into your listing section. And you're going to, once you've gone in and you've scheduled your open houses, here, it's automatically going to show. So you can actually go in and go to your listings. And you can, I think there's one on here. You can go to your actions tab and you can share right from that actions tab. So I can say, hey, I want to share the details page on my Facebook it opens up another window that says, here's my Facebook page. I'm coming back to your question. You can share it on your news feed or story, or if you want to share it on your business page, you just click here and you would say share it on a page that you manage, so share it on your business page. And then you would say, great house, come visit me. But this is actually, here it is. Here's the actual listing. And then you click post to Facebook. So Thomas asked a really good question. Where's the postcard that says, if I'm working this hard for your neighbor, imagine how hard I'll work for you? And Thomas, what I do is I actually change the text. So when I go into my marketing material and choose my orders and create an order, and I'm just going to select one so I can show you. I'm not going to choose that one. I actually put that text here. So I click on this text on the back and I say, if I what your home is worth or thinking of moving, if I worked this hard for your neighbor, and I just type it in. And now there's that text. So you can edit that. Does that answer your question, Thomas? Can I use the flyer to email property information to the MLS, from the MLS to buyers based on their career criteria? So Violetta, you can't, this does not, we pull information from MLS. So the MLS sends information to IQ. IQ does not send information to MLS. So if you want to send this to a buyer, once you go in and you create, so you've gone in, you've created your content here, you can email it out to your buyers as long as you have them in your customer relations. So I can go into my marketing, into my saved content, and I can say, hey, I need to send from me, send to, I don't have anyone named Karen in there, but you can say, hey, I need to send it to this person. You can add a person in, so you can send it from here. What I recommend doing is you can actually create a portal for someone. I'm coming back to your question, Thomas, because I need a little more information. So you can actually go into your contacts, Victoria or Violetta, and go in and I can say, hey, I need to look at Juan and I need to create a property watch. And you can actually, you have to create a portal. So he doesn't have a portal. We'll create him one. Here it is. Save. And then you can actually set up all those watches you have from MLS here, or you can just add a property. So if you're doing an open house on that day, you could say, hey, I need to add this to his saved properties. Does that answer your question, Violetta? Awesome. Thomas, where are you located? Before I share my ideas. So just so y'all know, there's a question that says, how do you promote or market vacant land? So I have no idea where that is. I know where North Carolina is, but do not know where Bolivia, North Carolina is. So vacant land is tricky. And I think you need to really imagine who is going to buy it. I think that's the trickiest thing of all, is that vacant land is really dependent on who is going, oh, coastal is good. Who is going to buy that property? Do they live there? Can you describe the lifestyle of having a home there or having a vacation property there? Can you promote something like a VRBO or an Airbnb as something that people might want to invest in? You really have to dig deep into what does it look like when it's not vacant, and what legwork can you do to make the potential buyer's homework easier as far as providing resources like what is the information for sewer and septic? What is the information for electrical hookup? I'm sure that you have to deal with floodplains and things like that there. What are some insurance references for them? And I think that really going into who's going to live there, to really envision that and then build a plan from that. Awesome, Jen. Have a wonderful day. But once you've identified who you would have living there, then it becomes creating a plan for those people. I know that where I'm at, there's a lot of lake and riverfront properties that people have that are vacant. And so some of it is, who's going to live there, and can you figure something out? I know a couple years ago, there was a project on the river, and they actually went out and hosted an open house on the vacant land underneath a pop-up promotional tent, and had information about the buildings that were going to go up there and the condo projects, and they paired with a marina, and they had a boat show out at the vacant land. There's a lot of things that you can do, and finding those lifestyle pieces of, if it's coastal, if it's is there fishing nearby, or is there boating nearby, is there a vendor that you could pair with an RV company that would come out and maybe do some displays of what it would like to live there, what it would be like to live there, that would help you. I think looking outside our industry can oftentimes be a very good thing. Other questions that y'all have? We've been going for about 44 minutes now. And I do know you're all busy. We're coming into that spring season. I want to make sure that you all know we're going to continue these 8 a.m. Monday morning webinars. So next Monday, we will be meeting again at 8 a.m. Pacific time. I look forward to having you all. And I look forward to you all telling me how your open houses are doing. If there are no other questions, I'm going to end the webinar. I am going to hang out for another couple minutes to make sure that nobody has any questions. Absolutely. And I challenge all of you now to really put some thought into your open houses. I also would love for you to share your successes on our Facebook page. So for all of you that are on here that aren't part of our Facebook page, we do have a realistic Facebook page that we would love for you to be a part of. And here's where you can ask questions and talk about what's going on. It's where all of our events for webinars and things like that are posted. You can go and look at videos here. If you want to search through videos, though, the better place to do that is on our YouTube channel. And so you can actually go in. Realistic Support is the YouTube channel. This is what it looks like. There are a lot of videos in there, and there's playlists. Here's a place where you can actually, though, ask active questions, and we really try to make sure that we're answering them. We're answering them on the weekends. Other people within the group also help so that you're getting best practices from people who are in the software using it. All right. If there are no other questions, I'm going to go ahead